Hey guys, Jason Reichert, Crazy Blessed Fishing. Wow, it is cold today. We're snowing outside. We've been snowing since about 8 this morning, and it just hasn't stopped. Not supposed to stop until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Anyways, so I want to do another video to follow up last night. Last night I showed you what I'm going to have on the deck of my boat for spring, and I want to go into a little bit more detail. I was asked a lot of questions last night, and I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, because it keeps me sharp and what you're looking for. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on 3 of the things that I showed you last night that I'm fishing with in the spring. So let's get to it. A lot of you guys wanted links, and some of you guys wanted to know how I set up what was actually on the rod, how I got it on the rod. And I'm sorry I didn't put that out, but I'm going to go and get that done now. So on the Senkos, what I use for my Senko is I use the VMC pliers, and there's O-rings in the handles that you keep in the handles of these things. I like the 5mm O-ring. And I always get it clear. And like I say, I'll put a link to that in the descriptions. But that is the VMC crossover O-ring. Now that O-ring is pretty special. And the reason for it is you can hook it either way. If you wanted to hook it Wacky, or you wanted to hook it Nico rig, you can pin that either way with that O-ring, and with it being clear, it doesn't show up nearly as bad. So I'm going to take that, get out of Senko here, and like I say, the only thing I run is Senkos. It's not that I'm a name brand guy, they just fall different, the weight is a little bit different, they're a good bait, and I just go with the Senkos. That's all I ever use. So you take that, and you put that guy on there. And then, once you get him on there like that, get him about centered up where you want him. So now you see that O-ring's not real aggressive on there. It's not like the blacks and everything else. You can actually, it blends in pretty well. Then what I'll do is, I know you guys fished with a Senko before. I didn't know this up until about 3 or 4 years ago, but if you take that Senko and you just pull him, and pull that salt out, look at how much salt comes out of that thing. I mean, it's amazing. So get that salt worked up out of that bait, and it also changes the color of the bait a little bit. Then the hooks that I'm running, this box, guys, this is the Plano Edge system, and it's got all the little boxes inside the boxes, so you can hold your hooks separate. So if you just want to take out a set of hooks, I love this thing. Man, that's been such a game changer for me for holding hooks. So what I do is I cut off the hook tag and put it inside that box. And the reason for that is so just like now, I know what I'm getting low on. I can write it down and take it back in the house and order. These are split shot drop shot hooks, and they're the Gamma Gatsu, and they're the 50411-25. 25 means there's 25 in the pack. But I want you guys to look at these things. They're different than most of the other drop shot or split shot hooks that are out there. You can see that on that hook, see how that thing looks? See how that point is straight out? That makes all the difference in the world, rather than having that little curl at the end. I won't use anything but a straight one like that, because it makes all the difference in the world in your hookup ratio. Then you just put that through the pre-designed hole, slide that over a little bit. And what I like about the 5mm guys is You can move it, but it does it constantly moving around on there. And there you go. There's your Wacky rig Senko. And like I say, that's the way that I rig mine. That's exactly how I do it. And that's how it goes on the rod, is just like that then. And man, that is a fish catching son of a gun. And like I say, whenever I throw it out and fish it, whenever I throw it out, I just throw it out to the bank. There was a tournament last year, Cops for Kids. No kidding, guys. If I was 4 to 6 inches off the bank, you'd get a bite almost every cast. If you missed that span, you were more than 4 inches off the bank, they wouldn't even look at it. But man, I'll tell you what, right up tight against the bank, it was every cast. It was just fish after fish. It was awesome. Couldn't believe it. So don't be afraid to fish that thing, like I say, right up against the bank, tight as you can. And honestly, still that early of spring, I don't run an electronic on my boat. I run my trolling motor down to about 2. And with that thing turned all the way down, I leave all the electronics off. I'll even turn off the graph of the helm and run nothing and sneak up on those guys. And I know it sounds funny saying you sneak up on the fish, but it does help. You'll pull the bigger ones a lot faster sneaking up on those guys. Used to do a lot of kayak fishing, and some of my bigger fish came on kayaks. I'll have to post a picture. I've got one that's a massive dog on a kayak before. So anyways, VMC crossover ring, 5mm. Put that in the description. The pliers. Whoops. VMC O-ring pliers. And like I say, they got pretty neat little deal right there in the handle where you can keep those O-rings. Hope you guys can see that. So, VMC pliers. Gamakatsu drop shot hook in 1/0. That's how I do my Yamamoto Senko Wacky rigged. So, the Fluke. D-shad, Fluke, whatever you want to call it. That is the Yamamoto D-shad in that. What is that? Smoke shad. I really like the smoke shad color. That and the gizzard, green gizzard. Anyways, that's it, guys. So what I do is, springs. So this is the owner's CPS spring. Same one that I use on my A-rigs. Medium. So that CPS centering spring, centering pin spring is what CPS stands for. Not Child Protective Services. Days in fire. So you take this little guy and you just push him right on there. And same thing as I do with the swim baits. Push him up on there good and hard, bunch him up, and then spin him on. And believe it or not, guys, I use that same hook. Number 1. No, excuse me, 1/0. Gamakatsu drop shot hook. And then I'll use that to spin that on the rest of the way of that bait. And you don't want that thing coming off there, so I don't mind having it where it covers the hook a little bit. Just like that. And that's how I run that with that nose hook in that guy. And I'm telling you what, guys, that fish, whenever he's coming up to that, he'll spin around at the last minute and eat that thing head on. Every time. And it's always stuck basically like you hook him with a drop shot right in the roof of the mouth. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Maybe one too many. There we go. But that is the way I fish a D-shad or a Fluke. And I can tell you guys, it fishes. So these are a little bit heavier than the Fluke, than that Zoom Super Fluke. I can fish this just like and have almost the exact same action as my jerkbait. And whenever they've got a lot of pressure or they're early in the spring and shallow, that thing flat works. Was in a Fisher of Men competition, Fishers of Men tournament down on Bull Shoals, and was using a jerk bait, but they were up in some of the rubble and some of the weeds, that buck brush they have down there. And man, I was getting tangled up every cast. Threw that guy on and started sticking every fish, and it was just game on down there. Absolutely great day. So anyways, guys, that's how I rigged that thing. That centering pin, medium, and then hooked that right up. That thing makes all the difference in the world. And again, that's a medium centering pin, 4mm. I'll put that in the description as well. That thing is flat, gets it done. So that's how I rig my flukes and D-shads. So that's that. All right, jigs. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize that they had quit making that ball head jig. I still have some, but the ball head jig apparently is dead. So now they've only got these in the go-to with that, with the football head, which isn't bad. It's not a big deal. It'll still work. And this happens to be a 1/2 ounce. So first thing I do with a brand new jig. See how much skirt is on there? Let me show you. So this is the Yamamoto 4-inch twin tail grub in that cinnamon with purple flake for Table Rock and Bull Shoals. This just gets it done. And I leave the whole thing original length. Now if it was 5-inch, I'd cut it down a little bit. So I take that guy and run him right up on there just like that. Run him all the way forward. And there you go. But look at how much that tail you can see with that guy. Just not that much. So we're going to remedy that. Now take a look at that. Oh, just a skosh more right there. There. Now look at that. And I can tell you, with having some of those shorter ones on there, oh, there's still some remnants on there. Anyways, so there we go. That'll be a lot more fluid in the water, and you can see a little bit more of that body. That works. It just works better than all that jig, having all that fluff on there. I do that to every one of them. I mean, even the smaller jigs, I'll cut some of that plastic skirt off and get it to where I can actually see some of that jig tail trailer on there. And like I say, that's that Yamamoto twin tail grub. And boy, that bait is absolutely deadly in the springtime. So that's the way I do it. You can see how much I cut off of there. I cut a pretty good little amount there. So anyways, guys, that's how I run those three that I've got a rig. The others were just chatterbaits, and then, you know, I had square bills and my jerk baits and everything else on. Spinnerbait I don't modify at all. I leave it just standard. These are the 3 that I actually modify and do something a little bit different that isn't the standard procedure for fishing. At least not a standard procedure seems to be in this area for fishing them. So anyways, guys, I hope this helps. Again, thank you for all the questions, guys. It really helps me put out a better channel and get down to the nitty-gritty of how I fish things, and I appreciate that. So definitely, and thank you for all the new subscribers. Appreciate you guys tuning in and wanting to be notified whenever I put out new videos. Anyways, guys, hopefully it's going to quit snowing here in the next day. And then we're supposed to warm back up. Like I say, Saturday is supposed to be our first warm day. Probably Sunday I'll be out on the water. If Sunday rolls around, it's nice, and Monday's nice, I'll be out there Monday too. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. Have a blessed day. We'll talk to you soon.